Good afternoon. Today is the 29th of January and it's time to talk about a subject that I can't believe has never been featured on the channel, and that is smart motorways. So I've got an article here from a few days ago from the BBC News website, although there are other news outlets who've been reporting on this week. The title is Smart Motorways Are Dangerous. And really, I think it's time we discuss the fact: are they smart motorways, or are they a bit stupid? Let's find out. Thank you, Sony Stereo. Before we set off though, there's just something we need to cover. That's the article itself, which is, drawn my attention to this. On the 24th of January, the BBC ran an article on the website which was entitled "Smart Motorways Are Dangerous, says Yorkshire Police Chief." A police and crime commissioner has written to the government to say smart motorways are inherently unsafe and dangerous and should be abandoned. South Yorkshire PCC, Dr. Alan Billings, wrote his open letter to Grant Shapps, the Secretary of State for Transport. His comments after a coroner found two men had been unlawfully killed on a smart section of the M1. The Department of Transport says smart motorways are as safe as or safer than conventional ones. Well, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? On the 19th of January, Coroner David Urpeth called for a review of the road schemes. Mr. Urpeth said smart motorways without a hard shoulder carry an ongoing risk of future deaths. He was speaking following the inquests for Jason Mercer, 44, from Rotherham, and Alexandru Magenu from 20 of Mansfield, who died when a lorry crashed into their vehicles near Sheffield on the 7th of June 2019. Now, Labour's Dr. Billings has told Grant Shapps, "I believe smart motorways of this kind, where what would be a hard shoulder is a live lane and with occasional refuges, are inherently unsafe and dangerous and should be abandoned. Relevant test for us is whether someone who breaks down on the hard shoulder, who breaks down on the stretch of motorway for isn't a hard shoulder, that's a smart motorway, would have had a better chance of escaping death or injury had there still been a hard shoulder." And the coroner's verdict makes it clear that the answer to that question is yes. Right, well, I happen to live in an area where we could drive straight from a section of conventional motorway onto a bit of smart motorway which is under construction whilst doing essential travel. I'm on my way back from my mother's house, home dinner shopping, so let's go. So here we are. This is junction 11 of the M3. We're going to be heading southbound towards Eastleigh and Southampton. So here we go, M3. We're just going to remind ourselves what a conventional motorway looks like. So here's the slip road. We're going to have some nice V6 noises underneath this tunnel here. Here we go. If the lighting goes all over the place, by the way, I'm really sorry. There's not an awful lot that I can do about that. It's just going to be the way that it is. So we're about to come along to a normal motorway, a bit of a short slip road here, but on the left hand side, as you can see, we've still got a hard shoulder. So if anything happens, if for any reason that we have an emergency or something like that, there is a hard shoulder on the left hand side of the motorway for us to go on there if there's a puncture, if the cooling system of the car blows up, which has happened to me. In this particular instance, we can actually see that there's cones on the hard shoulder because we're doing some work. Nevertheless, in an emergency, we can enter that area there and it's absolutely fine. There are signs, information signs. We're just about to pass one now. There we go. But when the speed limit comes up on there, it's not like a smart motorway where that has normally a red circle around the speed. So, nice conventional motorway, built circa 1990, I believe this section was. We're actually going to go on to an older motorway now, which is the M27, and that was built, I think, about 1980. section we're going to go on to. So yeah, it's just a normal motorway. Little state home safe live sign coming up, but the coned off area is about to actually end, and then there will just be a normal hard shoulder. This will continue for a little while and come back when we're actually in the section that's going to be converted to a smart motorway. So there we go, there's just a normal motorway, and of course I'm on my way home, but we're not going to go off at the junction I normally use. We're going to continue a little bit and we're going to go on to the M27 for a little while. It's a very, very minor detour. Shouldn't take us too much longer than going the normal way, but just for sake of comparison, we've seen a normal motorway. Now let's take a look at a smart motorway under construction. Okay, so we're now on a little slip road, delays possible until spring 2021, yeah, because they've taken an awfully long time to start this conversion process. We're still actually on the slip road between the M3 and the M27. It's a very long slip road, and bizarrely, because we're going east, and east is to my left, but we're in the right hand lane. There's always been a complete mystery to me as to why they design a junction like this, but never mind. So now we have to slow down because we're at average speed cameras, which we are going to do. Because I'm driving a Rover today, we'll be at 50 and I'll set my cruise control. There we go. So no possibility at all of going too fast. As you can see on the left hand side of the road, I don't know if you can see that, but it says upgrade to smart motorway M27 junctions 4 to 11. Possibly if you're on a computer monitor you would have seen that, on a phone perhaps not. So now we're in the section that is going to be smart motorway, and as you can see, if I have a problem in this section here, if my cooling system blows up or I have a puncture or whatever, I have absolutely no chance of anything. I would have to stop the car, put the flashes on, unless I can somehow get into these little sections here, which is equivalent, I think, to the sort of safe areas that they are trying to put on the smart motorway, but I haven't got a chance. Obviously on the smart motorway this will be all 3 lanes, but the issue is that the car is stuck, and unless you call into the breakdown service in time, or an operator on a camera actually notices where you are and alerts the authorities, I think it's the Highways Agency who deal with this sort of stuff, then you're screwed. You're totally screwed. You've got no refuge area or anything. And it's not just that, you're sort of very vulnerable, and somebody can smash into the back of you at any point because you're not in a lane that's emergency use only. It's a live lane. Then you've kind of had it. Also, with the smart motorway, here we are, we're on the M27 now, we've just joined. With the smart motorway, if there is a problem and it's been identified, I've noticed this on the M3, the tailbacks that can be produced by one vehicle being in the all-lane running section, the live section of the motorway, can be 3 or 4 miles. Whereas if that had happened on the hard shoulder, then the traffic would just keep going. As you can see from this section I've been talking, there's just nowhere to go if I have a problem. And of course I'm in a 50-mile-an-hour section at the moment, started construction, and it has been for a long time. It's since before we moved to Eastleigh, which will be April 2019. This has been around for ages, and it's such a pain driving up and down here. So we're just coming off at the first junction because we don't want to make the journey longer than necessary. But as you can see, even with the 50-mile-an-hour restriction in place, it is an example of all lane running here. We've got 3 lanes, and it would go up to 4. So if there were no problems, then you get, of course, increased traffic flow because there are 4 lanes rather than 3. But I don't think the benefits of having that really outweigh the safety aspect, particularly when you hear about these incidents like these chaps who died on the M1 near Sheffield in 2019. I really don't know. So we're off the motorway again now, just heading back to where we live on a normal road, but just the very short section I've driven today, which very starkly, even though the road under construction, identifies the difference between a smart motorway and a normal one. Sure, there's increased capacity there, but there's also increased possibility for massive delays if someone's spotted and, you know, they have to put speed limits in place and put those funny signs up which restrict the, you know, number of lanes that are open, and those cause horrific delays. I've seen them on the M3 up towards the top where it is a smart motorway, and of course there's the cost of converting it into a smart motorway. There's the, you know, residual traffic for the roadworks at the moment, and the fact that the journey takes a lot longer. I think they're converting something like 15 miles of motorway to smart motorway, and it's just taking a long time and costing a lot of money. Is this really what we should be spending our money on? I know that some people think that it's a good idea, but the government have said, you know, smart motorways are as safe or safer than conventional ones. But I'm just not convinced. I know that, for example, Mr. Richardson from Furious Driving, when we were heading over to the Santapod Challenge in October 2019, he had a problem with his old Hyundai on the motorway, and it was a smart motorway, and he just about limped into the refuge area. He just about made it. So if he hadn't been able to do that, goodness knows what would have happened to him. And of course he was driving very slowly, so he was holding up traffic generally to get to the refuge area. I've also seen opinion polls, for example, Auto Express this week said something like 64% of people don't think smart motorways are a good idea. I might be wrong about the wording of that, but that seems to be essentially what the opinion is of most people, and I agree. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more ridiculous opinion pieces. Please don't forget to like this video and to leave a comment below. The social media links are of course down below. And thank you very much indeed once again for watching.